I mean, of course I know and love Cinderella the fairy tale as told by the brothers Grimm and as portrayed by Disney, but let's be real, after reading how Hermione is listing Muggle children's stories for Ron to remind him that Harry and herself were raised on different ones, like Snow White and Cinderella, and he responds with, "What is that? An illness?" That's all I can think of. And oh, how right he was. Welcome everyone to my channel. I'm Margarita, an anthropologist and behavioral cognitive and neurobiologist, here to tell you every fun little scientific fact about the human body, behavior and cognition. And today I will be breaking down 3 different Cinderella conditions. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to let me know by commenting and liking. And if you think you might be interested in more science around humans, feel free to check out other videos on my channel and maybe even subscribe. It's free for you and it does make me very happy. Now, there are 3 completely different conditions which were named, even if not officially, after this super popular fairy tale. You remember the one where the girl loses its family and is reduced to a servant in her own house by her stepmom and sisters until she gets magical help, attends a ball, and marries the prince in the end? Yes. Well, there is a Cinderella Dermatosis, a Cinderella Syndrome, and a Cinderella Complex that all get their names from this popular story. Cinderella Dermatosis, or else ashy dermatosis, is a typically asymptomatic skin disease of unknown origin which is characterized by ash-gray macules across often one's palms and extremities, but can be found all over the body. These are like bigger spots of ash-gray looking melanin complexes in the skin. And now we get why it's called Cinderella Dermatosis as well, because cinders are ashes and Cinderella was called that way by her stepfamily because of her being covered in ashes, cinders, all the time. And this condition looks like being covered in ashes, hence the name. I want to be friends with the person that thought of this name, a proper Disney nerd. A Cinderella Complex, on the other hand, is not a physical but a psychological condition. It is basically the fear of mainly women to be independent and the unconscious desire to be taken care of by others, by a dominant figure that is usually male. Well, here I needed a little more info because the first time I heard that, I thought, how does she need help when she's running the house and being the help? But of course, if you think a step further, it makes sense. Cinderella needed the fairy godmother and the prince to save her and did not try to change her living situation by herself. She is beautiful and graceful and polite and hardworking, but exploited and abused by others and incapable of changing her situation with her own actions and must be helped by an outside force. This is also the exact description of the symptoms of this psychological disorder and was thus named the Cinderella Complex. I'm talking about women here because people suffering from this complex are more often than not female. This is, in my opinion, once again, a huge indicator of what is wrong and has been wrong in our societies for centuries now. Scientists trying to figure out how this complex develops are hypothesizing that it is because of the differences in upbringing and emotional development of men and women. Women have traditionally not been expected to confront others, but rather to conform with everybody and be people pleasers, whether by their beauty, their helping others, or by just letting everything that is happening to them happen, to not displease or discomfort anyone. In contrast to men, they have been traditionally trained to avoid what scares them and be dependent rather than free. To a certain level, we are all dependent on other people, men as well as women. We are a social species after all. But women being encouraged to be dependent and need saving out of hostile environments is where the problem in society starts. And being too afraid to act, to save yourself, and always needing someone else to sweep you off your feet and transport you to a better life is where the complex as a psychological disorder starts. Last but not least, the Cinderella Syndrome. This is a syndrome foster, step, or adopted kids can often have where they are accusing their foster, step, or adopted mothers, usually, of mistreating, neglecting, and abusing them. You can easily see where out of the Cinderella story this is coming from, obviously. Of course, Cinderella was indeed mistreated and neglected, but you get the point. Underlying these accusations are, according to psychologists, actual abuse in their history, whether from their real parents or from previous placements, from loss of a mothering figure, and from emotional abuse in the household. You can imagine, the accusations are a cry for help and should not be just dismissed as a manipulative behavior, which it is in the end, but we should always think about why kids would be saying such things. And that was it! Like, how messed up can a fairy tale be? And yes, Ron, it is an illness, or 3 more like, a skin condition and 2 psychological disorders. Booyah, Hermione! Me? I'm not a Potterhead, you are.